Welcome to Double Exposure, where we talk about newly released films and TV shows. I'm Riyad and this is Omar, and in this episode we'll be discussing Wheel of Time's 7th episode. Before I forget, for those who are watching on YouTube, feel free to subscribe and hit the notification bell. It really helps us out. And if you're interested in listening to it as a podcast, you can check it out on Buzzsprout and Spotify. So this episode started with a flashback.
Yeah, we get a flashback to which we learn to be Bran's mother, and she's in a kind of a battle, and we just see the end of that battle.
Yeah, it seems like in a snowy mountain.
Yeah. We've shown that mountain in the previous episode, the mountain near Tarvalon.
Before they entered the city.
Yeah, the mountain is the Dragon Mount, which will have like plot implications later on. So we see a really greatly choreographed fight scene.
Yeah, it was really surprising because from the previous episodes, the only fight scenes that I remember were from the episode 1 when the Trollocs attacked the village, and the second one I guess was in the forest that.
No, the second episode also had where Nynaeve was fighting a Trolloc, but it was more of a stealth mission kind of.
Like a choreographed fight scene. I was talking about the one in the forest where Aes Sedai and the Warders were fighting. Yeah. This one was the most tense. Stayed up with me because it has, as you said, very great choreography.
Yeah, and even though there were only 5 or 6 participants in the fight, it was extremely memorable. As the main point of view character is a pregnant woman,
warrior woman,
which fights with 2 spears and look really badass.
Yeah, the way that it was shot, it wasn't cut rapidly. And we were being able to see what was happening in this fight scene.
It was very clear to follow, and so she eventually gets stabbed in her side, and she's forced to give birth.
Yeah, and we cut
right there on the mountain.
Yeah,
and we see the heron-marked blade, which Rand carries. We already know that this is Rand's supposed father. And we cut to the opening, and we are back again in the ways.
Yeah, before the portal closes, Mat is being left out. Mat doesn't come with them with the party, and they are in a kind of a portal way.
It's a shortcut basically.
Yeah, this scene kind of reminded me the Bridge of Khazad-dûm, the Fellowship of the Ring from the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, so our characters are lighting up their torches and they're navigating the ways to basically enter the eye of the world. But something is off, as Loial notes that the waystones that the Ogiers used to navigate the ways are scratched out. No, he even says that no Ogier would harm the waystones. And from this, something is iffy. So there's an aura of darkness lurking around.
Yeah, I think the atmosphere here was kind of creepy from me personally, because as you said, they're walking with the torches and nothing besides their torches. It just seems like a very deep, unending darkness.
Yeah, it's just a series of tunnels, and I think they showed it greatly. And the use of the pentagonal stone columns, it gives it as kind of a sense of that this wasn't built by no man. This is something beyond mere mortal building. And our party makes a short stop
to
rest, and while they're resting, they notice a Trolloc that is attacking the camp, which basically surprises all of our party, as the Trollocs
usually don't use
you don't use the ways. So this, Moraine concludes, is why the Trollocs were able to reach the 2 rivers. And the minute it gets attacked, we see Egwene use her magic to repel the Trolloc, but later on we will learn something that will...
There's something interesting about that attack. And we also introduced to a creature that shows the worst fear of a person, by making them hear
Machin Shin, which translates to the Black Wind, which itself is like a black wind, or it looked more like a series of locusts, some kind of a biblical wind, and it whispers the worst fears into the ears of our main characters.
We heard what Moraine thought that she will be the reason that all these
Yeah.
kids will die.
Yeah.
And for example, I remember Perrin, how he doesn't loved his wife. He actually killed her not by accident, but
Yeah. And
wanting it.
Yeah, but in light of this, Moiraine and Lan decide to basically skip going right into the Eye of the World and make a stop, a day's worth of travel away from the area, which makes them end up at Faldara, which is basically
A desert
like a desert outpost that protects the world from the Blight. It's the last stop.
What was the Blight?
It's shown in the TV show as like a corruption of the land, basically.
Okay. From what I see, it is kind of roots. Like corrupted roots.
Yeah, and they have been fighting Trollocs for like thousands of years and centuries. And our party arrives into the fortress itself, and surprisingly, Lan is greeted as a
with high respect.
Yeah, has high respect. Everyone like bows to him, and everyone hugs him, and they like
Call him
in a special name. Yeah. I really like the aesthetics in the costumes and the architecture that were present throughout the Faldar.
I think it was kind of inspired by every Eastern culture, because we could see Japanese kimonos, we can see a little bit Indian style buildings.
I mean, because Lan was made to... He was more like a medieval knight protector in the books, but here he is like dressed aesthetically as more of a samurai. I mean, the katanas were present in the books, the sword design being more leaner than the normal long sword, but giving full all in with the Japanese aesthetics and the Eastern aesthetics. They went again full all in with the aesthetics of the Faldaran guards and even Lord Agelmar, who is like the captain of the
I think this aesthetic kind of doesn't feel out of the place.
Yeah. It surprisingly fits in well with the desert setting.
Yeah, and actually it stays on with you. It is similar to what Rivendell gave me the idea. Like whenever we saw the elves for the first time here again, I clearly will remember how these people will look.
Yeah.
How do they look.
So far we've seen like 3 main settlement types. Let's say 4. The 2 rivers, which had like a cute homely village kind of vibe. And the second place we saw was the village Matt and Rand were staying, which was more of a miners' village where the people are more hardier, they're dirtier, and the buildings are
your typical medieval fantasy.
Then we saw Tar Valon, which was like a nexus of all the cultures and like a capital of the world, with the Aes Sedai headquarters stationed there. And now we see Faldara, which is more of a it's very true to its name. It's more of an outpost. You don't see a lot of stalls with people selling goods. You see armored guards walking around and training regiments.
Or as the other people called it, with the borderlands.
Yeah.
So we're introduced to like a
Lord Agelmar, who comes off a little bit aggressive towards Moiraine, saying that we don't need Aes Sedai help because he's thinking that
protected.
Because he's thinking that the Aes Sedai sent Moiraine here to basically help them to fight off.
But she explains herself and her intentions, and then his attitude towards Moiraine and the party changes.
Yeah, but portrayal of Agelmar is nice because he's supposed to be this man that's always been involved in conflict, and it is good to see like a complete opposite of that, in that he's a softer individual when it comes to interacting with actual people.
And his costume was very memorable, I would
say. Like a crow vibe I was getting from him, because he named that so long as the banner of the Black Hawk is riding, we will protect the borderlands.
Okay, and talking about this lord, so we are introduced also to Lan's importance in this location. So apparently he's a king.
Further down the line, we're told Lan himself tells that he is the future king of this area, basically.
And that's why behave around him with high respect.
Yeah. And Lord Agelmar is supposed to be the armsman of his father, who smuggled him out of the castle when it was attacked. And this led, I believe, Nineve to think that he is a king without a kingdom and a boy without a family. Yeah.
So again, this episode introduces another new character, and from what
which
I
was supposed to like come in pretty early in terms of the book.
Yeah. Because as soon as every episode we're finishing, you're saying that where is this character, and she's introduced.
Min was a pretty memorable character in the books when she's first introduced, because we've only seen the side of the channeling ability of the magic system.
But she is a seer.
Yeah,
her name is like Min the Seer.
Yeah, she's introduced as the seer, which means that she can basically discern the pattern's future.
She's like a fortune teller.
Yeah, she's more of a fortune teller. But the surprising thing was that Moiraine, when Moiraine confronted her and asked her what she thinks and
about
what she sees about the party, she specifically told her that they shone brightly and that their fates were more visible than the others. She saw a more clearer image. And normally in the books, she tells to them this individually, but instead I mean, it's a TV show. They had to cut down.
They kind of killed
the prophetic vibe of
two
it.
birds, one with one stone.
Yeah, her prophecies in this case were more obvious and on the face instead of the more poetic, like mysterious versions. Who, for readers, I mean, Robert Jordan's one of the greatest his abilities was to put heavy emphasis on foreshadowing that would pay off. So you would be hearing, for example, that Rand would wield a sword that is not a sword, and by book 6 you discover that, oh my god, he meant this. So they tried to do something of the similar matter with, for example, naming who was that? They said that he had the eyes of the wolf and blood in his mouth.
Perrin,
Perrin. That was kind of short giving away of what will come next
in the future. Yeah,
we saw his golden eyes.
We also got introduced that the wisdom character Nynaeve, she's gonna be yellow eye,
Yeah. So
and after this,
I mean, the lack of Matt in this scene also like kind of destroyed him getting his part of the prophecy.
Yeah, so he stopped getting developed in a sense. So and actually one of the last questions Moiraine asked is that
can you discern
who's the Dragon Reborn? She says that no. And this kind of leads to the idea of Moiraine asking and letting all these party members, these 4 kids, know that if we go to this place that we're going, the Eye of the World,
we as an audience know that she talked with the Amyrlin Seat that whether if the Dragon Reborn is selected, for example, at the Eye of the World, the other people will die. Yeah.
She kind of lets them know that this is an ultimatum for you. You have to decide, will you go? And she kind of explicitly, I would say, says that you will have to go.
Yeah, if you don't, this might mean basically the end of the world. And
then after this, I think we are.
We see glimpses of what the characters are doing. We see Rand shoot arrows like as training. We see everyone interacting with each other, and
we see also a very heartfelt, very warm scene between Lan and Nynaeve. Kind of you could call it a medieval date or fantasy date.
Nynaeve joins Lan during like a dinner.
Before stalking him. She was following him.
He was following, and he immediately appears to her
as a ninja.
Yeah, as a ninja, and invites her to eat dinner with her. I mean, throughout the season, we're given glimpses of that they're attracted to each other, and it finally pays off in this episode.
Yeah, now I think they're introduced to our audience as being in a relationship, and as you said, that after this specific journey ends, they will get married.
Yeah.
And from their talks, from implications, it means that they want to get married as soon as possible.
Yeah. And so again, we cut back to Rand, who we previously saw talk with Egwene, and now we're finally realizing that he is the Dragon Reborn.
Like
And
he's
he is connecting all the dots and remembering how when Tam was poisoned by a Trolloc like an axe, he was like muttering that encounter at the
beginning
mountain.
of the film. Yeah,
We get the continuation of how
flashback. Yeah.
Tam like helped this woman deliver the baby, and it was said that the Dragon Reborn would be born on the steps of Dragon Mount.
And yeah, we will actually see that the mother dies after giving the birth to a child.
And so apparently Tam took the child and like adopted him.
Raised him as his own son.
Yeah.
And personally, for me, this one, obviously, I knew that Rand is the main protagonist of the this book, of this TV show. But that's the thing. For me, it did not I didn't feel it became natural.
Yeah.
Because out of all the party members, he was the least one who was developed.
Yeah. Hopefully, but I have like my worries. But hopefully, by the next episode, Rand will get like a fast track of development.
But we have only one episode left.
Yeah.
Like
There isn't half an hour of actual like book plot left at this point. The encounter
They
at
go to
the Eye of the
that's
World.
it.
We could in the next episode give like a half an hour of Rand character development. Maybe his childhood, maybe how in his childhood he exhibited the effects of channeling, maybe something like that. About the channeling, we are shown that in the ways it was Rand
when
who
he thinks about the points, when he connects the points that actually he's the Dragon Reborn, as we mentioned, when Egwene is shown to do
the channeling.
The channeling, actually Rand was the one who did it, and in one of the previous episodes he broke a very big door that 3 or 4 men weren't able to break. So also this his questionings were answered with the help of Min, the seer. He asked a couple of questions to clarify his own points, and from that he understands that he's Dragon Reborn. And after that, he goes to Moraine in a way that I am the one.
Yeah, he comes forward with his affirmation that yes, I am the one. I don't want to put the others to danger, so
let's go, just me. And this episode actually ends when Lan comes into a room where Perrin,
everyone
and the Knave are actually agreeing upon to go to that journey, even though they're under the risk of dying.
But he feels that his bond is masked with Moiraine. And Moiraine takes Rand, and they finally enter the path to basically the Eye of the World.
Okay, it was an interesting episode in a way that the plot starts moving because it's a penultimate episode. It's the one before the last one. But for me personally, it works very well. But you said that for you personally, it went too fast. Like it did a lot of things in one episode.
The plot points that were presented in this episode should have been sprinkled throughout the previous ones. It feels like they kind of, when writing, forgot that they are doing 8 episodes only, and in the last, I'd say 3 episodes. The previous episodes also had some story beats that were important. They just like fast tracked everything.
Okay, so now what is left is in the last episode, just going to the Eye of the World. So you said that there's only 1 hour and a half content.
And I'm hoping that they'll do like prologue and the epilogue combined. I would like to see the actor who plays the betrayer of Hope Ishmael.
We're only introduced to that character
as like a looming figure.
As a looming figure, So hopefully we'll see how it turns out. Thank you for listening to our discussion. See you next time. Take care of yourself.